Krishna, everyone, and welcome back again to our ongoing series on the glories of Vrindavan. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we are continuing with our discussions on springtime in Vrindavan. And today I would like to touch on the Rasa-lila pastime that is unique to spring in Vrindavan. We did discuss the spring Rasa-lila about a year and a half ago, but I would like to analyze it in more detail in the first part of this lecture, and then discuss Kunja Bhanga Lila. Kunja Bhanga Lila. It's the pastimes of the gopis sweeping the kunjas, the groves of Vrindavan, each morning after the Rasa-lila dance. This Kunja Bhanga Lila is actually one of the most interesting pastimes that I've ever read about, and I'll share it with you later. So, as we discussed a few weeks ago in our series on the Rasa dance itself, there's not only one Rasa dance, but there's a number of different Rasa dances in different places, in different seasons in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Actually, there's 4 types of Rasa-lilas that are accepted by our acharyas. And the first is Nitya Rasa. It's the Rasa dance which takes place every night. Then there's the Vashantika Rasa, which takes place on Vashanta Purnima, the full moon in the month of spring. There's Kartika Rasa, which takes place on the full moon in Kartik. And there's Sharadiya Rasa, which takes place on Sharat Purnima. Now, as an interesting note here, the acharyas say that in Vashantika Rasa, meaning spring rasa, Radha disappears from Krishna's vision. And in Sharadiya Rasa, Krishna disappears from the gopis as well as Radha's vision. Just for those of you who are connoisseurs, trying to be connoisseurs in this subject matter. So, the springtime Rasa dance took place, or you could say it takes place eternally in Aprakat Lila, at a very sacred tirtha called Chandra Sarovara. Now the word Sarovara means lake, but previous to Krishna's dancing with the gopis there was no lake. It was just a forest. So then how did that place become known as Chandra Sarovara, the lake of the moon god, that area, the lake of the moon god? So I'll explain. To begin with, the springtime Rasa-lila lasted an entire night of Brahma. And it was attended by all the demigods, it's stated, from the higher planets, who watched this topmost of Krishna's pastimes from above in their flower airplanes. Now the acharyas write that the demigods, they filled the sky with showers of flowers as the sound of their kettle drums reverberated through greater Vrindavan. And from their perspective in the sky, these demigods, to them, the Rasa dance appeared like a brilliant sapphire set in the middle of a gold band, and at other times like sapphire and gold bands intertwined, of course referring to Krishna as bluish black, like a monsoon cloud, and the gopis as golden. And at other times, the acharyas say, the Rasa dance resembled an exquisite sapphire paired with a flashing diamond, both fixed at the center of a band, appearing sometimes like solid gold, and at other times like both sapphire and gold. Hare Krishna. And the acharyas also write that the demigods who were fortunate enough to see this Rasa dance stared in wonder at the incredible ways the gopis moved their feet and their hands while flashing their eyebrows and making playful smiles. So many nice details. And one acharya, he writes that just as Krishna appeared more beautiful in the gopis' presence, the gopis also appeared more beautiful in his presence. And our beloved Rupa Goswami has said that as the dancing reached a climax, Krishna enjoyed the pleasure of the gopis' company by embracing them, by caressing them, and glancing lovingly at them, all the while displaying his playful smiles. Now, amongst these demigods watching from above, the one who was most affected by having this, being able to see all this, was the demigod of the moon, Chandradev. And he was especially happy because not only did he get to watch this Rasa-lila performance, he got to serve the Rasa dance. And how so? By hovering over as the moon planet, while giving light and illumination during the entire performance. Remember, this is the night of Brahma. So witnessing the Rasa-lila for such a long time caused Chandradev, the demigod of the moon, to experience the topmost ecstatic symptoms of love of God. Now, Srila Prabhupada mentions these 8 ecstatic symptoms in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 28. He writes, there are 8 symptoms of existential ecstatic love: becoming stunned, perspiring, standing of the hairs on the body, faltering of the voice, trembling of the body, changing bodily colors, shedding tears, and finally devastation. So one symptom mentioned there is the shedding of tears. So that's what happened to Chandradev. He was experiencing this particular ecstatic symptom. Not only was he shedding tears, but Shastra describes that he was shedding torrents of tears, which all came down and made a kund, a lake, Sarovara, at that spot where Rasa-lila was being performed. And so from that time on, the area became known as Chanda Sarovara. So we answered that question, how did it become Chanda Sarovara? Meaning the area, or the lake of the moon god, in the area of the Rasa dance. Now our beloved Sri Rupa Goswami, he gives special significance to Chanda Sarovara by saying that each day Radha and Krsna and their friends would visit Chanda Sarovara after their pastimes at Radhakund. So that would mean the afternoon, right? Because Radha and Krsna meet at Radhakund at 12 noon, and apparently they move on to Chanda Sarovara. So you have to visit there next time you come to Vrindavan, a very important place. And as such, this Leela Stan should be given the highest respect and devotion by the devotees. And Sri Raghunath Das Goswami shows us actually how much reverence and love he has for places like Chanda Sarovara. He describes in his Braja Vilashtava, text number 68, he writes, their hearts pleased by the rising waves of the conjugal mellow, Madhurya Ras, the youthful divine couple enjoy pastimes in the beautiful groves of Vrindavan. Aromatic with the many pleasant flowers and filled with many humming bees, let us sweep these forest groves with our long hair. Let us sweep these forest groves with our long hair. So therein he mentions sweeping the groves of Vrindavan. So again, this is called Kunja Bhanga Lila. Specifically sweeping the Rasa dance arena after the previous night's Rasa dance. Now the Acharyas explained that there's a need to sweep the Rasa dance arena because while Krishna and Radharani and the gopis are dancing, very often flowers from their garlands, or whole garlands, fall to the ground, or sometimes ornaments they're wearing fall to the ground, or sometimes even pieces of their clothing would fall to the ground. So each morning, after a rasa dance, the manjaris, the younger gopi girls, they would very eagerly come and sweep the rasa dance arena and collect these transcendental items. Something that's used in the service of the Lord is called tadiya, and it has deep spiritual significance and a very purifying effect. So the acharyas explained that one reason they did so was to hide these items from the watchful eyes of Jyotila and Kotila from Yavat, who, as we know, are always searching for evidence that Radha and Krishna are meeting somewhere. So if they were to come across, all this transcendental paraphernalia, say at seva kunj, they would say, just see, now we have proof Radharani is secretly meeting with Krishna. But another reason the manjaris collect such items is that they're allowed to wear them as a stimulus of love for Radha and Krishna. In the Braj Bhasa language, this is called Shit Pashadi. Shrit Pashadi. Literally it means what the divine couple have left behind. What the divine couple have left behind. And in Nectar of Devotion, we hear actually that a practicing devotee, a sadhaka like ourselves, we can also, if we're fortunate enough, we can also wear the old clothes of the deity, or we're encouraged to wear the garlands of the deities, or even if you get some ornaments, some pujari gives you an ornament, we can also wear, but for purification. The gopis don't need any purification. They just, it's a stimulus of love for them. But Rupa Goswami mentions in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Prabhupada translates as Nectar of Devotion, we can also wear these things for purification and for protection. I found another a verse in Nectar of Devotion in this regard. Nectar of Devotion is quoting 11th canto, 6th chapter, verse 46 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Quote, Uddhava says to Krishna, "My dear Krishna, I have taken things that you have used and enjoyed, such as garlands of flowers, scented oils, garments and ornaments, and I eat only the remnants of your foodstuff, because I am your menial servant. So therefore I am sure that I shall not be attacked by the spell of the material energy." A good reason for accepting this mercy of the Lord, prasadam is mentioned, but clothes and ornaments and whatever, devotees utilize these things as so they're not attacked by the spell of the material energy, nectar of devotion. It's also interesting to note that in the life of a sadhaka, practicing devotee, when his guru discards a particular item, like for example the guru may just give away some old clothes or some ornaments. I know Prabhupada would sometimes give a ring to a dear disciple, whatever. Our tradition allows the disciple to use those items as well from Krishna's representative. You can wear them while the guru was living. But our tradition states that after the guru leaves this world, the disciple should worship those items. I mentioned the other day that Srila Prabhupada was very kind to myself, that one time when I was traveling with him and we stopped in London and I was to go on to France, I was a little nervous. I was only 19 years old, didn't speak any French. So I had a darshan with Srila Prabhupada, and I kind of expressed my nervousness. So Prabhupada reached over into his dresser drawer and he pulled out a charter and he gave it to me. And he said that a gift from a Vaishnava is a very special thing. And then he gave me that, my lifelong mission statement. He said, preach boldly and have faith in the holy names. So I wore that, it was saffron. I was a grihastha, but I wore that saffron dhoti like a chadar until it became shredded, and then I gave it to a Prabhupada museum. So like that, same principle. We can use this tadiya while the spiritual master is alive, but when he departs, whatever we've been given by him should be worshipped on the altar or some sacred place. Now, here it's important to also note that in Rasa-lila, 500 years ago, those same manjaris who swept Seva Kunj in the mornings during Krishna Lila, after the nighttime Rasa-lilas, they appeared as male personalities in Rasa-lila and continued to sweep the same kunjas. Now, amongst such illustrious persons from the spiritual world, there were our 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. For example, Rupa Manjari became Rupa Goswami. Lavanga Manjari, or sometimes it's said Rati Manjari, became Sanatana Goswami. Guna Manjari, or it's sometimes mentioned Ananga Manjari, became Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Raga Manjari became Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Bhanumati, Rati Manjari, Rasa Manjari, either one or sometimes a combination, became Raghunath Das Goswami. And of course, Vilas Manjari became Srila Jiva Goswami. So the gopis appeared as male personalities in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when sent to Vrindavan, they were also sweeping. Now historically, that sweeping began with Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He was the first one to take up the broom. And why is that? Because it's explained in our scriptures that this is because sweeping the kunjas was, or you could say is, a specific service entrusted to him in the spiritual world in his form as Guna Manjari. So his service of sweeping in Braj 500 years ago, when he initiated that process in this world, it became known as Jharu Seva. Jharu means broom. Let us do Jharu Seva, following in their footsteps. And in this seva, or rather, this seva has continued, actually, in Vrindavan, down to the present day. Our 6 Goswamis are, for us, acharyas, and acharya means one who teaches by example. So in our tradition, actually, it's common, even now, to see devotees, sweeping the groves, sweeping the roads, sweeping the temples of Braj. I was reading, especially kings in the past would come to Vrindavan and do this service of sweeping with the broom as a sign of subservience to the Lord and an expression of humility. We read in Chaitanya Charitamrita how the king of Puri, before the Ratha Yatra, he would take a golden broom and he would sweep the street in front of Jagannath Swami. So kings also, inspired by the Goswamis, they also swept. And I was reading that in previous times, devotees were so eager to do this sweeping that it became a practice, this is amazing, to sweep the entire parikrama marg around Govardhan Hill with brooms. One could often see a devotee, a sadhu, humbly sweeping the dirt road around Giriraj the whole way, 22 kilometers. Now, we do dandavats, devotees do dandavat parikrama. But there's this tradition of sweeping all the way around, sweep up the dirt. Of course, it's not just dirt. It's Braj-renu, the dust of Vrindavan, of which just one particle of dust is more valuable than all the opulence of Vaikuntha. Because that dust can give you prema, love for Radha and Krsna. As we know, there's 5 personalities, we've stated so many times, who grant entrance to and residence in Vrindavan. Govardhan Hill, Yamuna River, Lord Shiva, Vrindadevi, and Braj-renu, the very dust of Vrindavan. Because everything in Vrindavan is conscious and very filled with the mood of compassion for the devotees. And I discovered a very interesting fact, actually, that the brooms these devotees used would become so worn away after, months or perhaps years of sweeping. They would just, you have the broom handle and then you have the branches they make the brooms out of coming out like this. After sweeping for a long time, it becomes like a stubble. So what did they do with those brooms? They were buried and placed in samadhi. What? Yes, because the wood comes from a kalpavriksha tree. The branches come from a kalpavriksha tree. Sweeping the dust of Vrindavan by a devotee in the mood of devotion to the Lord. In the transcendental item, they were placed with a ceremony, actually, around Govardhan Hill in samadhi. Wow, such historical facts, just so pleasing to the hearts of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So we, aspiring devotees, we can improve our ascent to the spiritual world, to Goloka Vrindavan, also by sweeping in service to the Lord. Of course, our sweeping will be on a different level than the Manjaris or the Goswamis or these great devotees who swept around Govardhan Hill. But it's still very valuable for us because such sweeping cleanses our hearts. Cheto darpana marjanam. Some activities like chanting cleanses the heart. The sweeping also cleanses the heart. Cleaning cleanses the heart. As was demonstrated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He instructed us in this pastime of cleansing the heart when he, with his followers, cleansed the Gundicha temple 500 years ago in Jagannath Puri as part of the Rath Yatra festival. We know that Lord Jagannath leaves the temple in Jagannath Puri, very kindly comes out to give his audience to everyone, and he goes down the Rath Yatra street, the parade there, and then at the end, it's quite some distance at the end, there's the Gundicha temple, where the Lord is meant to rest for some time, a couple of days actually, before he gets back on his chariot and comes back on the road to the main temple in Puri. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, they would cleanse the Gundicha temple to make it clean so the Lord could enter. But actually Mahaprabhu was also demonstrating to us that we have to cleanse our hearts before we invite Lord Krishna to come and reside within our hearts. So we have no problem taking up a broom and sweeping because it may be the beginning of our process. But as Confucius said, the longest journey begins with the first step. And it's a very nice step. After millions and millions of years of forgetfulness, not doing devotional service, we have no problem doing even the most menial service because it purifies us and connects us with Krishna. So, yeah, sweeping. So let us finish today with the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:15-21, which I found to be very relevant to our discussions today, especially about sweeping. Hare Krishna, quote, "The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendently beautiful ladies, their hands playing with lotuses and their leg bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." They're sweeping the walls. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Yes, I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. And we'll be back in a couple of days with more spring pastimes of Shri Sri Radha and Krsna in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, cleansing the heart ki, Goloka Vrindavan Dham ki, Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam.